In the last lecture, I talked about where to put your data transforming logic. Now, on the same page, if you chose the action creator, here's another utility method you might want to know when working with funcs, so with asynchronous code handled by redux func. For example, our store result here. We return a function which gets dispatch handed into it as an argument by redux func, which we can call to dispatch the action once our async code is done. Actually, redux func can pass us an additional argument, getState. That is a method we can execute to get the current state. Sometimes in your asynchronous code, you need to be able to reach out to the state prior to your to be dispatched action. Let's say you want to save some data for a given user and you have the ID of the user stored in your redux state. You can then get it with getState. For example, here we can get the old counter by executing getState here and simply accessing the counter property. GetState will give us the complete state, which of course has a counter property. Or to be precise, since our reducers make up the state and we have two of them, we can get the counter just as in the counter container in map state to props, we have to access CTR counter. So we can do that here, .ctr.counter in the action creator, thanks to the second argument passed into it by redux func. Now this old counter can then be output here. Old counter. And I saw I have a typo there. Let's fix that. So now if I save this and I store my result, I actually get my old counter printed here on the right in the console, the blue 10 here. That's the old counter I get right before dispatching this event, which then actually leads to the code executed in the reducer. Now, this is kind of related to what I said in the last lecture. If you need it, it's a nice utility function. Don't overuse it though. I try to write my action creators and reducers in a way that I don't have to use getState. Instead, you can pass all the data you need in your async action creator, like the user ID, into it by accepting it as an argument. That of course means that you need to have access to the data you need in your action creator in the container where you actually dispatch the action leading to the action creator. So here, store result, which leads to the async action creator. Here we would then have to pass this user ID or whatever it is. And for that, we of course needed to have access to that user ID in our container. But that is something we might be able to expect, and we should build our app accordingly. If you just can't do that or don't want to, you have getState as a fallback and you can use it, just don't overuse it. Don't put too much logic in there. At least this is the route I take in my bigger React applications.